how has your perspective as a competition juror influenced your own teaching methods at the Royal College of Music?
I think hearing other people from other countries, I mean, obviously the Royal College of Music, where I'm head of keyboard, is a very international college. We have 60 nationalities there. So we don't just have British people, British students. We do have quite a lot of British students, but it's not completely. So we're already getting that influence from other cultures, other backgrounds, other ways of practicing, other, maybe from Eastern Bloc countries where, the tradition is very different from our country, and also from China, where it's again different, the culture and the background of people's practice. So I think being on a jury gives you a chance to hear all different nationalities. And this, there used to be a time when people would say Russian, oh, that's a Russian school, or that's from, American school, or whatever it was. And you used to think, yeah, okay, there's a specific way of playing in some areas, and to a certain extent, there is still a Russian school and in the foundation of the technique. But it's so now mixed. We're so international, and countries are and people are like, we have many Russians studying in the Royal College of Music, or Ukrainians, or from Kazakhstan, or and then we have Chinese in the UK, and we have UK students go to America or to Australia. So people are just intermixing. So this schooling is becoming very like one now. This foundation. So I suppose I learn still from juries that some of the people that are still taught in a certain way, and that's the way I can bring back to my teaching. For instance, the Russians talk about intonation in teaching. Intonation in piano playing.
Wow.
Now, it's interesting, isn't it? If a violinist, you think intonation.
Yeah, you always struggle with intonation in violin.
Right. Yeah. But if you think about it as a pianist, what is your intonation? In other words, how do you voice or how do you match a melody line from one note to another? That's the intonation of it. And
is it some are related to legato or something like that?
No, it's more to do with the shaping of the cantabile, maybe, or the shaping of the. Well, it's very, very interesting. Something that if you listen to somebody from that school, you'll hear it beautifully, and the sound they make, the depth of the sound that they make. So there is still something that we can learn, from, and whether we learn from listening to great masters, which of course we all do, and from great recordings, which we all do, and from listening to young people playing in international competitions, because they have something fresh. So I bring to my teaching, to answer your question, I bring back to my teaching this insistence on my students to be fully prepared. It's no good going to a competition if you're not well prepared. You need to know everything you're going to present. You can't leave anything to chance. And really, just to do a competition, it raises your level, because the levels of your practice, of all kinds of practice, become higher, because you're striving for something. Now, that to me is personal development. So even if they don't win the first prize or whatever, the fact that they've prepared in this way for an international competition raises the level.
So are there any, well, that's maybe some personal question. Are there like any secrets, like for different competitions you prepare, like there are different hidden criteria for different competitions, like for example, the Chopin is quite different from Tchaikovsky, or
definitely. Definitely. It's the composer, isn't it, for a start? The composers, you think about Chopin competition. Chopin, the way you play Chopin is very different from the way you play Rachmaninoff, Tchaikovsky, Prokofiev, the Russian composers. So you have, of course, you have to have a certain affinity with this music. If you are a very strong, big player who excels in the big virtuoso repertoire, that's more in the thicker textures, the bigger repertoire, then of course, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't play Chopin well, but you may tend to be more suited to other repertoire in other competitions. So the competitions are very, it depends on the composer. Very recently, I was the chair of the jury for the International Bach competition in
where is it?
Leipzig.
Oh, Leipzig.
Just this last couple of months ago. And
Bach worked in Leipzig for a long time.
Exactly right. And of course, so many musicians there were living there and studied there, and Schumann's the Grieg studied in Leipzig.
Oh yeah, Schumann, Mendelssohn,
of course, who was important for the rebirth of Bach at that time. So all this
Matthew Passion.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is the most wonderful city, and for this competition, it was based around the obviously Bach. It was also based on a little bit on Shostakovich, because Shostakovich was one of the first jury members in 1950, and he was
Prelude and Fugue as well.
Preludes and Fugues, but that's right. He wrote them after hearing Tatiana Nikolaeva, who was the winner of that competition. So he wrote them for her. His 24 Preludes and Fugues. So we used in this competition, we used the Bach Preludes and Fugue, Shostakovich Prelude and Fugue, and then we had Mendelssohn, Schumann, Brahms, Grieg, and anything that was associated with this repertoire and this city. And it made this competition very, very personal to that place and very special to that place. So I think it's quite imaginative to have that repertoire in certain areas. Likewise, if you go to Moscow, you go to Tchaikovsky competition, of course, it's all the big guns repertoire, the Russian repertoire. So it makes each competition, I mean, there are some generic ones, but in general, this is very interesting to see how it works in different places. And you get different kind of pianists who are in these kind of competitions. Somebody who wins the Bach competition may not do very well in Tchaikovsky.
That's right. Well, I find it like a bit difficult to understand. So how is it possible that for someone to like make a standard for Bach, because it's so versatile? There should not be like a golden standard to decide who is playing better, because for people playing Rachmaninoff, I think there is a like baseline that the techniques, but for Bach, the grandmasters, they have different style. Like Gould is different from Pragya. Everybody's so different.
You're quite right, and that's why being on a jury for a Bach competition, you have to be very open-minded. You have to be able to accept something that might be different from your way of thinking, but if it must be illuminating, it must make you think, wow, this is really interesting, or to hear it as if for the first time. So the wonderful thing with Bach is you get this canvas, and blank canvas, and you can design it in any way you want. But there are ways of doing it that could be distasteful, that would not be acceptable, because they may be either too thick, heavy, too much rubato. Too much rubato maybe, although people would argue that that's inegal from harpsichord playing. But in terms of the most important thing in Bach is to be good with polyphony, of course. And if a lot of people forget that. They just play the notes. You were talking about mechanical earlier on. They come out like machines. No, you've got to be able to voice, to be able to hear polyphony all the way through the texture, and to be able to really show the development of that in the form. And that's what you're looking for. And you're looking also again for this individual, as somebody who can really show something, whether it be a subtle nuance, some extra accentuation, something with energy, something slightly different,
or maybe with the decorative notes.
Decorative, and that's another thing. How you repeat and how you ornament.
Wow. So I'm curious about but because Bach wrote so many pieces for keyboards. So I'm wondering which pieces are they competing for, like the Goldberg or the Art of Fugue or the Well-Tempered just hard to.
Oh, in the competition.
Yeah, in the competition.
Oh, yeah. They have to play many things. They have to play preludes and fugues, of course. This is standard bass line, and partitas or Italian concerto. The final was chromatic fantasy and fugue plus
I love that
a romantic.
piece.
Yeah, very hard. Again, something that shows something very individual, because the chromatic fantasy. The fantasy especially.
Yeah, it sounds almost like a modern piece.
Right,
Yeah.
It can be. And this is what's so great about this music. It's the father of all musicians, of all of us. He is. And he's the person that we all go back to. And what an amazing man that was. Yeah. To come, when you think he was the first.
Yeah. Well, Bach has always been so hard for me. I can only play his English suite.
Yeah, well, they're difficult too.
Yeah, then that's difficult, but maybe less polyphony compared with...
Less polyphonic, but different kind of styles, dance styles, yeah.